Every patron in Laporte liked Christmas a lot. So in the library, hoping not to get caught, snuck the Grinch, who loved Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. You all know the reason. He brought in decorations that would fit just right. Ornaments and knickknacks and tinsel and lights. And can you believe the Grinch brought presents for all, for the old and the young, for the big and the small. Now whatever the reason, he heard a strange sound. Then a blue police box came crashing to the ground. Out through the door with a sour, depressing frown came the doctor, wearing a red fez like a crown. He crushed all the Christmas decorations beneath his big floppy feet. He even trod on a wreath. "What in the world is all this?" he snarled with a sneer. "Oh, tomorrow is Christmas. Forgot it was near." He groaned with his screwdriver unsafely flailing. "I truly couldn't care that Christmas is coming." For tomorrow he knew he would be all alone. His companions had left, his blue coop they had flown. There would be no noise, not one single noise. How he hated silence. He wanted noise. So the doctor turned into a terrible beast. He threw ornaments down like a beast. He crushed presents, snowmen, decorations, and fleece. He even destroyed the Grinch's Christmas showpiece. And then he did something the Grinch liked least of all. He resolutely plopped down and started to bawl. "Oh, woe is me," moaned the doctor quite desperately. He grumped and he groused and he sniffled forlornly. The doctor cried and he cried and he cried.
"I must stop this mad scene,"
thought the Grinch with eyes wide.
"Why, for 22 minutes I've put up with it now. I must stop the doctor from crying. But how?"
Then the Grinch got an idea, a brilliant idea. The Grinch got a wonderful and splendid idea.
"I know just what to do."
The Grinch laughed merrily. He slowly approached the doctor most warily, and he chuckled.
"Don't worry, I'll show you the way. I had to learn the lesson too, back in my day. Christmas is about giving."
The Grinch gestured around.
"And leaving nice surprises and gifts to be found. It's also about spending time with those you love."
The Grinch leaned over, giving the doctor a shove.
"And for using your surplus to help those in need."
The Grinch expected his words to plant a small seed, but the doctor's hearts were like some old empty sacks. He gave an immense sigh and flopped down on his back. Then the Grinch said,
"Get up! You're bringing the mood down."
But the doctor just stared out at the sleepy small town. His dark mood sent energy waves to the TARDIS, which couldn't contain the negative forces inside it. It shot out several crackling beams into space, which attracted a Dalek to its gloomy place. The Dalek squeezed through some books, a rather tight pinch, and locked its radiation arm onto the Grinch. He ducked and he weaved, doing a lively leap or two, and nearly got singed when a ray beamed past his shoe. The Grinch swiftly turned and skedaddled down a row and shouted to the doctor,
"Do you know this foe?"
Then the doctor slunk with a face most unpleasant behind the ruined tree and all of the presents. With a pop and a roar and a shout and a boom, the Dalek chased the Grinch all around the big room. He raced through the bookcases, dodging quite nimbly, as the doctor peeked out, feeling horribly guilty. Suddenly they heard the same strange sound as before, and another police box appeared on the floor. The doctor emerged with a look most puzzling, and thought his TARDIS was perhaps malfunctioning. But he looked quickly right and then left in a flash. He saw 2 TARDISes. After giving himself whiplash, he rapped on the door, posing his screwdriver high, and counted the seconds, wondering what was inside. From the TARDIS emerged a girl in a striped shirt. Her big eyes were lively, her expression a smirk. She strolled around him as if circling a prize. The doctor stared blankly, not believing his eyes. "Who are you?" he questioned, his voice trembling with fear, while his dazed brain was grinding and turning its gears.
Oi, this is brilliant!
She exclaimed with such glee.
I am certainly you, and you, silly, are me.
The doctor's mouth slowly fell open with a flop as the new doctor giggled and twirled on the spot.
I am from the future, and I really must say, you do the maddest, most wonderful things on the way. And don't worry, you'll have many companions, my dear. But I knew you need convincing. That's why I came here.
She tweaked his nose and heartily patted his head.
And I have one more surprise up my sleeve,
she said. She sauntered to the TARDIS with a hand on her hip, then let out a shrill whistle with fingers to lips. Then the last thing he thought would come out of that box was his loyal pal Canine, a dog-like robot. The doctor's face twitched and curled up into a smile, as he hadn't seen his old friend for quite a while. Giving Canine a scratch behind his metal ears, he suddenly felt a tiny spark of Christmas cheer. The doctors looked at each other, giving a nod. Neither one would admit that the feeling was odd. They quickly dashed away with screwdrivers in hand to help the poor Grinch with an unspoken grand plan. They circled around, sneaking up from the sides, then proceeded with 3 silent, synchronized strides.
Pooh-pooh to the Daleks!
They chanted impishly. They lined up their screwdrivers imperceptibly. Out came a mighty blast with a sound like kerblam. The Dalek had to admit it was in a tight jam. "That's a noise," laughed the doctor. "That sounds like a charm." The Grinch reached and pinched its manipulator arm. The Dalek squealed and rose, lifting its hefty weight, and flew away, all while shrieking, "Exterminate!" They all jumped and whooped with sounds that sounded merry. Christmas was almost saved. It would be merry, very. They worked extra hard to put back the items with care, replaced the ornaments so the tree wasn't bare, hung up the lights, decorations, also the wreath. The doctors even put back the Grinch's showpiece. Then they glanced around at the festive room in awe and let out a quick, heartfelt,
Ho, ho, ho! Hurrah!
The new doctor grinned and shouted, somewhat restrained.
This was grand fun, everyone. Let's do it again.
The doctor nodded hurriedly, trying to stall. "But I must deal with these Daleks once and for all." She gazed into the distance and stood very still, then whispered rather softly,
Don't worry, you will. Anywho, Happy Christmas. I'll see you somewhat soon.
She winked, gave a huge wave, and flew off toward the moon. And what happened then? Well, in Laporte they say that the doctor's 2 hearts grew 3 sizes that day. He carried this feeling, holding it tight inside, then climbed in his box with K9 along for the ride. Thank you, Mr. Grinch, but now I really must go. So Merry Christmas to you all! Geronimo!